from and they throughout Hudsonville. And, it's a wonderful program, and I got Scott's name from Ron, I believe, and we've been kind of going back and forth on the phone. But welcome, and I'll let you introduce your guest as well. Yes, you know her better than I do.
Quite a few years. This is my wife, Tammy. And sorry that. Where do you want me to stand?
Up here is good.
Anywhere? Yeah. Brett Dunn with is actually a McKinney Vento counselor at the high school, and he's also the president of Sharing and Caring. I invited him along, but he had a conflict, so I apologize for that he wasn't able. I could probably answer a few questions if you guys aren't familiar with Sharing and Caring Foundation, but you know that's really more important. So anyway, again, my name is Scott Sampson, my wife Tammy, and Tammy about a year and a half ago had seen I think it was Laclede Electric's Rural magazine that had an article about Sleep in Heavenly Peace chapter out of Marshfield, and that definitely piqued her interest, and so I was voluntold to do that with her, and we had a great experience. Our daughter and son-in-law from Springfield came up with us to that event, and as we mulled that over afterwards, of course, what was put on our heart is, well, what about our hometown, right? What's going around at the Lake of the Ozarks as far as a similar thing, and we pretty quickly found out that there's really not that many chapters in Missouri. Sleep in Heavenly Peace. There's a great Mike Rowe, Returning the Favor. If you're familiar with that, I'm a huge Mike Rowe fan. And anyway, so we took a look at that. And Marshfield was the closest one. There's active ones in Springfield. And then, as you can imagine, the urban centers, the need is much greater. And one of the things that we found out as far as the statistics, as far as what it's all about, is there's at least 3% of the children in communities across the board average in the United States that do not have a bed to sleep, and so they're either sleeping on a couch or on the floor and sleeping bag situation like that. And what we've heard is that in the urban areas that easily gets up to 6%, but observationally, I think we've in talking to school counselors and teachers and things and other people as we've jumped into this, is that the rural areas, outlying areas have probably greater than 6% of kids that are at risk in that way. So we definitely were challenged with that. And one of the about a year ago, we actually pursued the Sleep in Heavenly Peace route, which again, it's a national organization, so they actually set you up with a whole nonprofit status and give you, it's a blueprint. So you just kind of follow that. But God was putting it on our hearts that, okay, make sure you've done your due diligence and find out, we feel like we've been here since 2006, and feel like we're pretty well connected, certainly with some of the evangelical churches. We attend Potter's House here in Camdenton. But we also were at First Baptist Camdenton prior to that. Have friends that are scattered across different churches, things like that. Anyway, and we actually had a meeting with the school counselors and found out that Sharing and Caring has been filling that need as far as the beds for kids. And the way that Sharing and Caring does that is they do the fundraising, And then when a family goes to the school counselor and resource people, and they get approved, they can then go into Slumberland and their name's on the list. If you can pick up a metal twin frame, a box spring mattress, and a bedding set. Okay. But it's all, you know, there's no delivery aspect or anything like that. The families, you know, go and pick that up. So that was a fantastic thing. So we immediately reached out to Sharon and Caring, because what we're about, that I probably should have led with the core thing that we're doing. Okay.
You want me to play the video here?
Sure, yeah. Let me say one last thing and then we'll roll with that. So the core thing that we're about is it's not, you know, fundraising. I don't ever want to diminish the importance of that. But for us, it was getting the community involved in a hands-on, tangible way, you know, in kind of a low step. You know, you're not asking for massive commitments. Any of you that have ever volunteered on a, you know, habitat, you know, build or something like that, you know, there's a lot of things that are, you know, may require more skill or whatever. And this is bed building can be anybody from, you know, 16-year-old kid, you know, all the way up to, you know, 75-year-old, you know, grandmas or great grandmas that are running orbital standards. So it's very easy for people to help in a
low skill.
yeah, half a day block. So with that, we'll go ahead and roll a promo video that we did on our bed build on last October.
So, I'm gonna try to make sure we hear.
Anyway, so speaking of that, so right now, we're using a Facebook page, which is named Community Bed Building of Lake of the Ozarks, which is a long name, but it sounds good when you truncate it down to CBB of LOZ, right? So, but on there, we have that video. Can you also post on your Rotary
We'll put it down in the
link to that if you couldn't hear it? I was getting a bad reverb on that, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not high tech.
Oh, no, that's great. Yeah, hopefully you guys got a feel. And the purpose of that was so that people can actually see what it looks like when you're doing a build day. Again, that was the first one. But so the goal is, and what we're doing, so organizationally, we are a ministry underneath Potter's House Church. So any giving that goes to builds, or you know, we bought a cargo trailer, we bought you know, miscellaneous tools. We're trying to make it as easy for people that are volunteering as possible. You know, initially we're like, hey Bob, can you bring, you know, your orbital sander and drill sets? You know, we're ramping this up as it grows. But one of the you know, that is a part of our structure is that right now we are a ministry of Potter's House. But what we are doing with the name Community Bed Building is, you know, we're reaching out to our fellow evangelical churches. That's the initial, you know, first round is we're trying to expand to get our fellow churches to sponsor their own build. So as you saw in the video, and some of us guys were talking, you know, about my backstory and career. I've worked in manufacturing for 35 years. I started up a second business that is hot rod Corvette parts, which is, you know, kind of a weird thing. You go from mass production to very micro level production. And so, of course, when my wife says, we can do this, what she really means is, well, you can do all the engineering side of it. And then her side of it is, you know, she's been great in volunteering with either what's the name of the pro-life, the pregnancy support help center. I always mess up help center and one down in Lebanon. So doing that, working with Operation Christmas Child, fill in the blank here. You've been involved in a lot of different we're big marching band folks back in the day. Tim probably remembers us hustling around with Bauer and the team there when our kids were in that. So so essentially what we're doing is Tammy and I are championing this. We've got the fantastic support from our church, and the goal is that this grows to the point where it ends up being its own 501c3. But right now, everything's going to flow through there. But when we ask our fellow churches to sponsor a bill, they're the ones that can write the check to Home Depot. I'll put in a shameless plug. So on this next bill that we're doing, we went out and visited Rebecca and many other folks at lumber yards. We actually do have a donation for the largest batch of the lumber, which is 1x4x10s, 280 boards, makes 12 bunk beds. When we transition and do the twin beds, that'll make 28 twin beds. So we actually have had Mid-City Lumber down here in the Glen Creek Park donate that batch of 280 boards, which is fantastic. That frees up more money for the next builds and tools and things like that. So we're excited that the lumber yards are partnering up with us in that way. We are encouraged that we met with about a half a dozen churches at this point, and that's just all brand new. So you got a timeline is late October, we did our first bed build. We still have a few beds left. And then we're doing a May 4th build, which our church is sponsoring, but anybody is welcome. We still have slots available. We're allowing all the way up to 24 people to join that build. Surely we'll have a few dropouts, the day of anyway. So we really need like 18 people that are going to be there from 9 o'clock till 1 o'clock, and we'll have a dozen bunk beds. So anyway,
we found out through sharing and caring that there's more of a need for the twin beds, which is why we're going to start doing the twin beds.
Yeah, nobody was providing bunk beds, and why don't you tell them, I guess, about some of the homes that we've, as far as what we've seen.
Yeah, we built 12 in October, and we've given away 8 so far. 2 of the homes needed 2 bunk beds. Obviously, some of these homes don't have room to put multiple twin beds, so the bunk beds work better for their area. Yeah, you kind of leave pretty humbled that, that might be their home is this new bunk bed. Yeah, it's been a really great experience, but I think there's just a lot more need out there. Sharing and caring does cover Morgan Miller and Camden County. So right now we're finding that most of it is the requests we're getting is just from the Camden area. So we're hoping to branch that even further. Right now it's growing slowly, which is probably good for us.
Yeah.
Because if it grew too fast, we would get overwhelmed. It'd be too much because we're the delivery people, and yeah, we're just kind of doing everything right now. But yeah, I think it's needed. I think there's a lot of people in the community that, there's the haves and the have-nots, and there's a lot of have-nots, and a lot of people that have don't really want to look at that other side. But that's what we're trying to provide is, it's just a basic need. The last home that we moved to, I think it was a grandma or a great grandma that had 2 littles, and the situation was not good. And she just kept saying over and over and over, "Oh my gosh, you guys, this is the best bed. This is the best bed you've ever had." There was 2 of them sleeping on literally an ottoman that wasn't as big as this table. So the need is there. Right now, the biggest thing for us is just to get the awareness out there. So if you could find us on Facebook, like us, follow us, and share it. That's kind of our only communication right now is we need to rely on Facebook, but that's kind of our only advertisement that we are doing right now. So we would appreciate that if you could at least share that.
Yeah, right.
Word around.
Yeah, and we're here to learn as much as we are to tell you guys about us, right?
Yep.
So again, we didn't come in feeling qualified for any of this, but that's the way our Lord, works, is he takes the unqualified and he equips you. And definitely that's, we see him moving through this undoubtedly. We're working hard as Tammy's saying, we're working hard on the supply, to be able to build more beds. We actually haven't done a build of the twin beds yet, which but I had to show this off because I've got a friend that volunteered to build this quarter scale, bed. We actually haven't even produced, any of those. And he's like, oh, I was this close to having the bunk bed ready to run. Anyway, it's a good visual for people to be able to see. And again, we're not talking fine furniture here. This is raw pine, unfinished, screwed together with decking screws. So
Well, they handmade bed.
Yeah, it's
well,
Sturdy.
and that's the one thing that we do know is the lower cost twin beds, which don't even have a headboard. Yeah, you can get it for $50, but they're not very good quality. And anyway, so hopefully, we kind of described again when we have another church or group, we want this to be able to grow to the point where really a business could sit there and say, hey, we want to sponsor a building. We'll buy the lumber and we'll man the team. And then what we come in with, regardless of which organization, what we come in with is a trailer full of tables and fixtures and tools, and basically nobody needs to do anything other than bring their coffee cup or whatever in the morning, and we'll put you to work and make it a smooth, good, well-organized flow so that people at the end of the day, they, had a good time and they enjoyed working with each other as they built this. And of course, who doesn't want to be part of, helping kids, get a bed? So
you guys met with all the school districts to get your.
No, that's next on the list.
Yeah, that and recommend talking to the host, it's raise a lot of money, might be a good money source.
Indians Club is also a good referral source.
Yeah.
Lake area needs additional referral source. I'd recommend, have you been to the Sunrise Beach Rotary Club?
Nope.
I would recommend, they're very, we participate in a lot of the District 65 grants, having all 4 clubs come together. I think this year we're working with Sheridan Harvest, I think. But we usually, when we give our money to foundation, each member each year, as if we're sustaining or above member, we give $100 a year. 3 years later, we get 50% of that money back. It's guaranteed money for a grant. So every year, 4 clubs come together. We don't have a lot of money individually, but together, you'd be a great candidate for the great. So,
yeah, we're excited about it. And since I don't follow a script, which I probably should, our art really, as Christians that go to church and we serve and where there's needs, Tammy and I and our kids, jump in and help as much as possible. And it's not a condemnation on any, people that attend, but they're not plugged in and do things. A lot of times, it's a massive commitment to sign up to be a 2nd and 3rd grade Sunday school teacher, or to be somebody that helps out on Celebrate Recovery, night that, Potter's House had, on and on. There's all these things. What we felt is certainly when COVID hit, we all sort of isolated and we're YouTubing it in church services and things. And, through that, and with the economy that we've had for the last 3 years or so, you know, we know the community's hurt. We know the people that are, you know, in the poverty, you know, belt, that they're feeling it harder than we are, right? And so we just felt like, you know, there's a healing that happens when you have people that unite together for a good cause. But it does, it takes, you know, people to organize it and to make it go smooth. There's people want to help, but they don't know how to help, and we're trying to offer up an opportunity to plug in a very low commitment way. You know, if the goal is that we want them to come and do it once and then get excited about it and say, man, I'm gonna invite my neighbor, you know, he's a handy guy, he's gonna love this, and, you know, hey, can I bring my, you know, middle school kid, you know, next time? It's like, that's what we're wanting to do. So it's really twofold, meeting the needs of the kids, but also getting the community engaged in a hands-on way. Because it's, you know, a lot of people, you know, again, we can raise the money to buy a bed, but it's a very different thing to actually, and we've seen this, we've had people that as we've delivered the beds, you know, they just say, you guys built this, you know, for my kids. No, that's special.
Any questions at all? Is there any question?
Yeah.
Wow, there's a lot to the